He who has the gold makes the rules. People will say, oh, it's a fiat currency. The dollar is not backed by gold. Untrue. It is backed by gold. There's 11,037,000,000 on the gold certificate accounts held as collateral against those notes. What is the result of this? If they went to 100% gold backing on the Federal Reserve notes that are outstanding, what would the price be? Well, $9,044 is what it would require. But I think that maybe Trump needs a little bit more than $2.8 trillion for deficit spending. And so let's go to a nice round number. But I believe that the government has left a trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow. And I'm going to be presenting some of these breadcrumbs to see if there is a really big shift that presents an enormous opportunity for all of us coming very shortly. So first, though, I'm going to visit a little bit of history to give you some context. So, for what I'm going to present, you're going to want some background information so that you can see how this might affect you. There have been 4 monetary systems in the past 155 years. And so history repeats. This is a normal event. The thing is, it only happens once or twice in a lifetime. And so for me, I'm approaching 70. For me, the last time it happened, I was 15 years old. But this is not an extraordinary event. It is normal. It's just measured in very long time scales. So if 1870 to 1922, we had the stability of the classical gold standard, the original, fully backed gold standard, where every treasury note outstanding was 100% redeemable in gold with no fractional reserve system. And it was followed by an economic boom, World War I, suspension of the gold standard in Europe, massive currency creation to fund the war, the chaos of deflation and hyperinflation, and an emergency economic conference to create a new world monetary system, the Genoa Conference of 1922 to 1944, the stability of a partial gold standard, it was called the gold exchange standard between the wars, followed by an economic boom, the chaos of deflation, hyperinflation, suspension of the gold standard, World War II, massive currency creation to fund the war, and an emergency economic conference to create a new world monetary system, the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 to 1971. The stability of a pseudo-gold standard, the Bretton Woods system, followed by an economic boom, massive currency creation to fund Korean War, Vietnam, all of Johnson's social programs, a bank run by the international central banks on the U.S. gold supply, suspension of central bank gold redemption rights, and an emergency economic conference to come up with a new world monetary system, the Smithsonian Agreement of 1971. 1971 until today. The instability of a fiat currency system with immediate roaring double-digit inflation and stagflation, massive currency creation to fund an endless stream of wars and social programs, an endless series of bubbles, busts, crashes and bailouts, income inequality, wealth disparity, social unrest, and an emergency economic conference to, that part hasn't happened yet. It's about to happen, I believe, and I'm going to present you the breadcrumbs right now. Here come the trail of breadcrumbs that, remember, this is normal. It is nothing extraordinary. It's happened 4 times in the last 150 years. I believe that it's about to happen again. So what are the breadcrumbs? When Trump was running for his first term, so you can see in the background there, it says 2016. He says, well, in some ways, I like the gold standard. There's something nice about the gold standard. Bringing back the gold standard would be very hard to do, but boy, would it be wonderful. So this is the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, Scott Bessent, in an interview. I think that we are at a unique moment geopolitically. I could see that in the next few years that we are going to have some kind of grand global economic reordering. What is an economic reordering? a new monetary system, something on the equivalent of a new Bretton Woods. And he wants to be a part of this. There's a very good chance that we are going to have that in the next 4 years. Then there's another interview. This was on Tucker Carlson. Gold can't have a fiscal problem. Gold can't have a gigantic budget deficit. Gold cannot have a war. The entire global trading system, until Nixon took us off, was tied to gold. And here's yet another interview. Gold is not a fiat currency. There's a limited amount. It is recognized as a store of value. The Chinese People's Bank of China is the largest buyer of gold now. Could we imagine some kind of convertible RMB that is exchangeable into gold? And then the host in this interview says, I don't disagree with any of that, which is probably why I find myself sort of rolling my eyes whenever people mention Bitcoin, to which he responds, gold can be a risk-off and a risk-on asset. Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. So what Bessent and Trump have just said is gold, 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 not Bitcoin. So the next month, no central bank holds Bitcoin. There are countries that hold Bitcoin, but the central banks don't have Bitcoin. Most central banks do have some gold. It's a tier 1 asset for them. And then the White House put this out a while ago. On the financial side, the reserve function of the dollar has caused persistent currency distortions and contributed, along with other countries' unfair barriers to trade, to unsustainable trade deficits. These trade deficits have decimated our manufacturing sector and many working-class families and their communities. To facilitate non-Americans trading with each other. Now, you have to look up the Triffin paradox or the Triffin dilemma online. Investopedia.com is probably the best way to look at that. Basically, what has to happen is with the currency systems that they were just talking about on the panel, other countries need US dollars just to be able to trade with one another, not necessarily with us. The way they get those dollars is they've got to sell us more stuff than we sell them so that we're buying their stuff and exporting dollars. And then the world gets along just fine. But it does cause problems in the United States. And those problems were recognized by this economist named Triffin. And so he wrote up this paper on it. Anyway, the next thing is a tweet from Donald Trump, the golden rule of negotiating and success. He who has the gold makes the rules. Now, everybody sort of knows Donald Trump's mindset. He has to win. He wants to win at all costs, and he is willing to put the entire global economy at risk in order to win. That's just his personality. So, he who has the gold makes the rules. This is how much gold each country has. The United States has like 2.5 times more gold than the second place, Germany. And if you look at China now China lies. They do not give us the truth when it comes to their data and their holdings. They probably have twice as much gold, but still, even if they had twice as much gold, we've got twice as much as that. So what does that mean? That means that Donald Trump gets to win, win, and win. He gets to, if we go back on a gold standard, he gets to devalue the dollar. And you do that globally just by changing the price, the official price of gold. He gets to put the trade back into balance. Manufacturing will come home if this happens. And he gets to maintain fiscal dominance around the world because we have the most gold. The dollar will still be king of the world. And so he gets all of these wins if this happens. Now, what are the consequences of that for us? Well, if you go to the Federal Reserve's website and you go to their H.4.1 release and you scroll down to the very bottom, This is the collateral held against Federal Reserve notes. So what you're talking about are the dollars in your wallet, the paper notes. Those notes, all throughout all of the gold standards that we've ever had, the government has never guaranteed the bank credit, bank deposits. The gold standards back the paper notes that are in circulation, and they're fully exchangeable for gold under the classical gold standard, the treasury notes. A $20 bill had a $20 coin in the treasury's vaults backing it up, and it was fully exchangeable. So there is $2.8 trillion worth of Federal Reserve notes outstanding. Now, they're not outstanding because they're outstanding notes. They're a liability, so they're notes outstanding. Now, people will say, oh, it's a fiat currency. The dollar is not backed by gold. Untrue. It is backed by gold. There's 11,037 million on the gold certificate accounts held as collateral against those notes. Now, you take that number, 2,800 billion, and you divide that by the 11 billion, and what you come up with is that each dollar is backed by 0.39 cents worth of gold, 0.39%. So less than 4/10 of a penny at the official price. What is the statutory price for gold? It's 42 2/9. Leave it to a government to pick an irrational number. 42 2/9 is 42.22222222 out into infinity. It's a number that cannot be resolved. And so anyway, that's how it adds up to 11,037 million. Now, a gold standard is self-funding. All they have to do is declare a price that is higher than today and then stand ready to buy or sell gold in unlimited quantities. When a mining company brings you a whole bunch of gold, all you do is you print up gold certificates and you hand those to them and you buy the gold with the newly printed certificates and you've got a gold standard. It's an easy thing to do. And so if they do that, what are the consequences here? Well, we free up $2.8 trillion that is the collateral that is held. It's mostly U.S. treasuries that are held as collateral against these notes, giving him the ability, that goes into the rest of the Fed's balance sheet, and that can then be deposited in the Treasury General account, and they've got $2.8 trillion that they can spend against the deficit spending before the gold standard. Gold standards constrain governments. You can't do a bunch of deficit spending without doing something called crowding out, where you borrow too much gold out of the private sector, slow the economy down, reducing the tax revenues. And so there's a certain range where the government can do a tiny bit of deficit spending, but not the massive deficit spending we do today. So what is the result of this? If they went to 100% gold backing on the Federal Reserve notes that are outstanding, what would the price be? Well, $9,044 is what it would require. But I think that maybe Trump needs a little bit more than $2.8 trillion for deficit spending. And so let's go to a nice round number. I'm not saying this is where it's going, but I'm saying this is entirely possible. And I'm saying that I really do believe that we are possibly headed toward a new world monetary system. Once you've gained a certain amount of wealth, once you've done a bunch of work, you've invested, and you've gained wealth, now what? What are you going to do? Are you going to just make more and more and more? Or do you also try to leave the world a better place than you found it? Do you try to create a world that is better for future generations? For me, I want to do the latter. I've made enough to where I'm fine and I'm comfortable, and I don't worry about currency, not money. because I've got a lot of money. I've got gold and silver. You know, I used to tell people, oh yeah, I'm fully diversified. I've got both gold and silver. And really, it was my only investment for a long time. And everybody thought I was nuts. Turns out it's the #1 performing asset class other than cryptos, because cryptos came out in 2009. And when you go from zero to something, that is an infinite return. But gold has a 5,000-year history, 2,500 years as money. So that was my only investment. Now I've got that, cryptos, a few other stocks. I've got Tesla Roadsters, and I've got some real estate. And so I am a little bit more diversified than I used to be.